Go Mustang. The Coach Alexander Show, brought to you by Kim Assad, your real estate broker.
Hello, Mustang Nation. Matt Carnes, Grapevine Booster here. Week 12 of the Coach Mike Alexander Show with head coach of your Grapevine Mustangs, Coach Mike Alexander. And Coach, we're coming off of a tough one. It's week 12. I feel like we were just talking about the Azle game just the other day, and here we are, week 12. Had a tough one out there on Friday in Midlothian with the Aledo Bearcats again, but showed a heck of a lot of heart. Tell us from a coach's perspective what all was going on out there.
Well, Matt, we really felt like going into the game we had a good game plan. We knew we had a great week of preparation, and there's something about that that team that they start exceptionally fast, and that's been kind of their MO. No matter who they play, they typically get ahead really fast and make the teams play catch up. And Friday was no exception. I felt like we started off the game well. I think we got 2 or 3 first downs on our first drive, and then gave up the strip sack for a turnover, and that kind of opened up the floodgates. And I knew in my heart of hearts that if we could just get on the scoreboard, our kids would start to believe. And I thought, okay, at 14-0, no problem. We just need to put a drive together and go score, and then we'd have another turnover. And then finally at 28-0, I was pleading with the guys, come on, guys, let's finish the drive, and we did. And once we, spades were broken and we got that first score, I think everybody on the team or on the sideline just kind of took a deep breath and said, okay, we can play with these guys, but it was a little bit too late, I really felt like at halftime, going into halftime, if we could have got another score, whether it's a field goal or a touchdown, if we could have just gone in at halftime, maybe 28-10, I knew that in the second half we were going to play better, and we did play better. Just wasn't enough in the end. But man, I'm so proud of our guys. I mean, not many people show up against Aledo and rack up over 500 yards of offense, and we did that. Not many people force 4 punts against Aledo. They hadn't punted much this year, so all in all, I was disappointed in the loss. But as a head coach, I was really proud that our guys at 28-0 didn't just fold tent, and they kept fighting and they kept battling. And at one point in the game, I mean, we got it down to 10, and we're kicking an onside kick to try and get it back to get it to a 1-score game. So just real proud of our kids for their fight.
Well, it was fitting that Mr. Tejada was talking about that TCU bowl game and the halftime comeback they had, because that had to have been going through everybody's mind at halftime in your locker room.
Yeah. And we addressed that, and I told the guys, I said, listen, we're not going to get back into this thing in one drive. I said, but defense, we've got to get a stop the first drive coming out, which we did. We got an interception and got a stop, and then we went and scored, and now it's 28-14, and you're telling the guys, hey, look, we can do this. In the end, they had a little too much size up front. We just, in the fourth quarter, we could never just get off the field on defense and get a stop when we needed to. And they were smart, and they decided in the second half we're not going to throw the ball again.
Yeah.
We're just going to get in 2 back, 1 tight personnel and try and run it, and see if y'all can stop us. And we got into so many of those 3rd and shorts, and then just couldn't get off the field. And but that's a credit to Aledo and the strength they have in their offensive line. But it gives us something to look forward to in the off season. And our young kids are, talking to them in the locker room and even in the lunchroom today. I'm like, guys, what are your takeaways from that? And they're like, we're going to beat them next year. We can beat those guys. And so that's encouraging to know that our young kids saw what they can do when they play well, play at their best. And so going into the off season, Matt, it's just fuel is what it is, and gives our young kids a benchmark to strive for.
Well, and you talk about coaches frequently don't want the moral victories, and I'm sure you're the same. But throughout the entire game, you were moving the ball.
Oh yeah.
The turnovers are what caused those short fields and got the game going their way.
You know, that's just a credit to two things. You know, our offensive coaching staff had a really, really good plan against these guys, and our kids were going out and, you know, for the most part, executing the plan. They had some tremendous athletes at defensive end, and it was a tall task for our offensive linemen to keep them, you know, out of the backfield and keep them out of Allen's face all night. And, you know, we fought to some ties, you know, in some of those matchups, and they won some. And the negative was when they won them in a big way, you know, and they caused the fumbles when they hit Allen, and that was the difference in the game.
Well, your guys fought right through to the final play, and we'll see some of that. Let's take a look at some of the highlights here. We're going to start off with some of the defensive highlights here. We got a few of the big plays. Talk us through these.
Yeah, so we knew as our focus we're going to need to stop the stretch play. You know, the outside stretch and attack. They were going to attack the perimeter in the passing game at times, and then, you know, run the football. But that's just a great break on the ball by Costa in a critical third down early in the game. Give us some confidence. You know, the quarterback misses a little bit inside right there, and shows that, you know, we did have good coverage across the board. Yeah, that was the first drive coming out of the out of halftime right there, and we talked about we got to get a stop, and let's just credit to our kids for believing that they could, and that's a big momentum swing right there. It's 28-7 right now. We're about to go down and score, make it 28-14, and, you know, right back in the thick of it.
Well, what was encouraging was Mustang Nation was right there with you. Mm-hmm. The crowd was very into it throughout the most of the second half.
Well, this is just a great throw and catch by Allen and Jack right there, and then Jack shows a lot of strength and athleticism as he breaks a couple tackles, and that kid right there is going to SMU to play linebacker, number 25, and you know, Jack gets going vertical, and he's tough to tackle. Yeah, this is where they're going to bring pressure, and Allen just steps up and knows that he's got single coverage with David. He throws in the end zone, gives our kid a chance to make a play. He does. So I think this is going to be this is just going to be a little inside run play. You know, it was tough sledding in there all day, but offensive line got their blocks on that particular one. Roshan makes the outside linebacker miss, and makes him miss, and ends up getting about a 40-yard positive play right there. That was huge momentum swing.
Yeah, like you say, it was tough sledding, but he found some holes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the last time they gave up 100 yards on the ground, and, you know, Roshan had about 115, and then Alex Vergara had a really, really solid game. You know, he had single coverage most of the day, and you know, he was getting interfered with quite a bit, I felt like, but he just kept battling and made a nice catch and run for a touchdown right there. And then we got Jordan Brooks, West right here, just turning on the burners. Great catch initially. Allen threw the ball a little high, but Jordan comes down with it, makes a guy miss, and just shows the athlete that he is. We're going to miss Jordan.
So here we are. We're getting back in the ball game at this point.
Absolutely. So we're going to kick this field goal here, which was no small task. You know, we had about a 15-mile-an-hour wind in Carson's face, and you know, he's gonna knock through about a 37-yarder right here, and I think it's going to pull us within 11. Yeah, this is what makes it. This is 35-24. So we're going to be 35-24, and then we're going to go onside kick here to follow that up with, and we don't get it. But in my mind, I'm thinking, man, we got this. You know, at this point, all we got to do is get this onside kick. You know, go down and score. Now the pressure's really going to be on Aledo to make a play, and didn't quite happen. But you know, we push it to the fourth quarter right here, and this is Allen's last pass as a Mustang, and how fitting is it that it's a touchdown to David Clayton?
Yep, it was very fitting, and I mean, you showed right there you're going to play till the last second, and you certainly took it on a literally on that one. So it was a tough day, but no question you proved that you can hang with these guys.
Oh yeah.
So
you just can't spot them 28. We know that much.
Yeah, well, and they're good at getting their 28. That's for sure.
I think something that's worth noting is, you know, it'd have been real easy for our kids to come back after half and not play as hard as they did. A year ago, it was 24-7 at halftime. Ended up being 55-7. This year it was 28-7 at halftime, and our kids didn't let that happen. They came out and they fought, and it was. Aledo knew they were in a real football game, for sure, and so I just really, really proud to be this team's coach. I feel really blessed to get to coach a group of guys that have the character that our guys do.
Well, it was impressive to say the least on that one. Allen had a big day, like you say. They don't give up big passing yards, and he had nearly 500 yards passing. You had two receivers with big numbers. David and Jordan Brooks West both had the big days, and Rashawn had 131 yards rushing. They don't see stats like that.
No, they don't.
In Aledo.
And that's, like I said, credit to our kids for believing in the plan, and credit to our coaches for putting together. We had the right recipe. I think we just got behind the 8 ball early, and can't do that against a good football team.
Well, for the season, your team wound up with over 6,600 yards, and you averaged over 48 points a game. As you look back and reflect on Team 98, what are some of your thoughts?
Well, I was just real proud of the progress that we made throughout the year. We graduated a lot of good players the year before, and defensively, I felt like our kids improved each and every week. We became better practice players, which translated into being better game night players as well. Offensively, guys, we had a lot of injuries we had to overcome in the offensive line. We started 2 offensive linemen that don't weigh 100 or 200 pounds. Playing 5A football, and still managed, like you said, to average 48 points a game. And so, you don't play with guys that are undersized that bad if they don't have huge hearts. And that's the thing that Team 98 will be forever remembered for, is guys that just played with a lot of heart. And they won a lot of different ways. Some nights it was Roshan toting it, some nights it was Allen slinging it, and different receivers stepped up big at different moments. And then, our defense, think back to the Richland game, we held Richland to under 20 points. That was huge that night, because we knew it was going to be a tough night offensively with what they do. And so, we just found different ways to get wins this year. And I think Team 99's got big shoes to fill, but we have a lot of talented kids coming back, and they've tasted what it feels like to be close, and hopefully that'll fuel them throughout the off season.
Well, I bet it will. Team 99 is going to be fun, but before we get to Team 99, you got a banquet coming up on January 11th. More details coming on that, and we'll have a little word about the seniors coming up shortly. But Mustang Nation, Team 99 and Team 100 coming up. If you're a part of the Grapevine community, this is a really special time to be a part of this thing. Coach Mike Alexander and his whole coaching staff and the players doing a great job, bringing a lot of pride to this community, so get involved in any way you can. We will look forward to seeing you next year. In the meantime, we're going to have some spring football. We're going to have some two-a-days coming up next summer, as it'll get here way before we're all ready for it. Banquet coming up soon, but we'll see some senior notes coming up shortly, but we'll look forward to seeing you again next year. Coach, thanks for all the time this year. Been a pleasure to work with you. Proud to say I know you and the Mustang Nation.
Yeah, thanks for all you do, Matt.
You bet. My pleasure. We will see you soon, Mustang Nation. One of the toughest things any coach ever has to do is say goodbye to his seniors. And this year's no different. The Team 98 for the Grapevine Mustangs had a lot of special seniors. Coach Mike Alexander is here to talk about those special seniors and what they mean to him.
Well, Team 98 was special and is special for a lot of reasons. I think, first of all, as I look here at this collection of these fine young men, I see so many that just poured themselves out for their friends and their teammates, and were willing and happy to play positions maybe they didn't start out playing when they were freshmen or sophomores, or had never even maybe dreamed of playing. I mean, you take guys like Mason McCourse. Mason was a skill kid that played receiver up until this season, and you know, he just willingly knew that it was the best thing for the team if he played offensive line. And then you take guys like Cole Stevenson, who was a backup quarterback, you know, and just gave him himself and, you know, bought into playing defensive line and became one of the best defensive linemen in our district. Guys like Luis Reyes that was out of football for a year and then came back, and last time he played football he was a safety, and then he came back and played defensive line for us. You know, just across the board, there's so many stories like that of just guys being unselfish and giving of themselves that, you know, we'll never forget. I see undersized linemen like Coy Keeling, you know, that, you know, weighing 180 pounds or so and just fighting his tail off against guys that weigh 280 every single game and just giving everything he has to help our team be successful. You know, very decorated players in this group too. You know, Carson French, maybe one of the best kickers Grapevine High School's ever had, most accomplished anyway. And then Alan Bowman, you know, hands down the most accomplished quarterback that our you know, storied tradition high school has ever seen. So this is a special group. We had kids move in that didn't go to school here as freshmen. We've had kids that quit the program and came back for their senior year that wanted to invest and help this team be successful. So for so many reasons, this group of guys right here are really, really special. And being in my first year as the head coach, they'll always have a special place in my heart. So Team 98, thank you so much for all that you've done to further Grapevine Mustang football.
And on behalf of Team 98, Coach, thanks for all that you and your coaches have done to pour into their lives and get them ready for life as they move on. And so I'm sure each and every one of them has a special thanks for you as well.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Go Mustang! The Coach Alexander Show, brought to you by Kim Assad, your real estate broker.